week, I invited Lacey Mason from the state of Georgia as my special guest at the State of the Union speech. She is a type 1 diabetic. She needs insulin to survive. Even with insurance, insulin was too expensive for her to afford, and she had to resort to black market insulin in the United States and borrowing expired insulin from friends. She told the story about meeting people she didn't know. She met on Facebook in parking lots to get insulin. And while I'm glad that my proposal to cap insulin at $35 per month for Medicare beneficiaries is now law, the fight is not over. There are still too many Georgians who aren't able to afford the insulin they need to live. Dr. Trish, do you agree that prescription drug prices like insulin are too high?
So that's there's a lot to unpack in that question. I think that insulin is an example where, it's a prime example really, where the list prices are particularly high and they've really increased over time in ways that harm patients at the pharmacy counter. The research that we've done at the Schaefer Center shows that the net prices that manufacturers receive has actually declined, although the total amount that we're spending when you account for what the PBMs and other intermediaries are taking home has not declined, right? So this is an example where it depends what price you're asking about, but it's absolutely problematic for patients, yes.
So in a sense, while it was important for us to have this cap, you're pointing to the larger root cause and the issues around PBMs. So related to that, and you point out the drug pricing is complex. That said, it's no secret that pharmacy benefit managers or PBMs have played a role in high drug prices, and that's what we are examining in this hearing today. How are PBMs contributing to high list prices for drugs, especially for insulin?
Absolutely. So essentially PBMs are in a position where they make more money as the list price goes up, as they get a percentage of the rebate or some other type of fee that's based on that increasing list price. And so you've seen, even though insulin is a very highly competitive drug class, there's multiple products that exist there, and the rebates are enormous, typically more than half of the list price. But nonetheless, the pressures and the incentives have made it so that when manufacturers have opted to offer lower priced drugs, PBMs won't put them on their formularies.
So they're incentivized to be bad actors in this space, costing people like Lacey, literally.
Particularly when those patients face cost sharing that's based on the list price of the drug, then that's absolutely problematic for them, yes.
I agree. I think Congress needs to address the role that PBM rebates play in high drug prices. And that's why I was proud to vote the Pharmacy Benefit Manager Transparency Act out of committee last year and look forward to supporting it again this year. Dr. Oftebro, I don't want to butcher your name. My last name is Warnock. I get called Warlock and all kinds of things.
That was perfect.
Is it uncommon for pharmacists to see folks come in unable to afford their medicine?
Senator Warnock,
speaking of insulin.
Senator Warnock, we see that every day. The out-of-pocket costs for patients, there's no way that it's not a barrier, and it's forcing patients to make very difficult decisions, whether they take their medicine, whether they ration their medicine, whether they don't take it at all. But it's clearly an unbearable impact.
Yeah, and in fact, a recent article on NPR says that manufacturers have increased the price of insulin by more than 600% over the last 2 decades. 600%, a drug that was created 100 years ago, the patent was sold for $1. Do you believe this leads to rationing? You pointed that out, or finding other ways for patients to drag out how long the medicine will last or refill. What kind of effects does this have on patients' health? Because I think as we work on the policy, we have to center real people. What's the impact on the patient?
Well, when a patient isn't taking their medication as prescribed, there are all kinds of negative impacts, but they're ultimately deteriorating health. They're using the healthcare system inappropriately, more ER visits, and these have cost all of us at that point.
So it costs them more and it costs us more.
Correct.
So thank you so much. Look, hearings like this are incredibly important, so we can come together and work to get something done for our constituents. And everything we do on drug pricing, it seems to me we have to center the patients because they are the ones who are really caught in the middle, and I hope we can get some progress. Thank you for everything you do on this front.
Thank you. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you. Dr.